All right.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hi.
Good afternoon, good evening, maybe good morning even, depending on where you are in the world. Here in Lund, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, so
Dark outside already.
it's dark outside already.
Unfortunately.
That's the time of the year. It's common here that it's quite dark in the winter, of course, in the winter months, but it's not as cold as
No, but it was cold
people
today,
imagine.
though. I felt during lunch.
Yeah, a little bit. I think we
Yeah.
have maybe 2, 3, 4 plus degrees or something
Yeah.
like that during the day. As I said, we're here in Lund at Lund University. We're delighted to be here today in this YouTube Live to speak with you. We have a theme today, don't we?
Yeah,
What-
common application mistakes.
Common application mistakes. Right now, we're in the middle, you might say, of the main international application round for international as well as Swedish students who would like to join one of our international degree programs in the autumn of 2025. So right now we're soon in the middle of December and we have a bit more than a month to go until the deadline, January 15, which is the deadline for what, Louise?
The deadline for applications.
The deadline for applications. And there is another deadline as well that we need to be aware of. And next year, it's on the 3rd of February, and that is the deadline for
Document submission.
documents.
I
Right.
passed the test.
You passed the test.
So we thought now was a good time to gather you all and talk about common application mistakes and, of course, how to avoid them.
Yeah, how to avoid them. I mean, we've been doing this for many years, and we see every year that people from around the world, including Sweden, tend to make the same or similar mistakes. Based on a variety of factors. So we thought we'd gather you here today to just inform you about these are the most common mistakes. Please do not make these mistakes if you're sincere and serious about coming here as a degree student next autumn. We do also have a chat open, the YouTube chat, and we'd love to take your questions. So if you have any questions, try to keep them related to the main theme or topic of this session, please, if you can. So anything related to your application, your documents, and the deadlines, etc.
And it's really nice. I can see here that people have actually been introducing themselves in the chat already. So we have people joining us from Nigeria, Rwanda, Ethiopia, China, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, England, Brazil, the Netherlands, Ghana. So
Fantastic.
Really a great spread.
Very, very good.
So shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's
Head
jump
first.
in. We've actually made a list of, we have narrowed it down to the kind of 5 most common mistakes that we see that students make every year. Of course, there are more mistakes you can make than these 5 potentially.
Hopefully not, though.
No, but these are kind of the most serious things that we think all applicants need to be aware of. And if you avoid these mistakes that we are going to mention here today, then it is quite likely that you will be, properly assessed and evaluated and potentially selected for admission for one of our degree programs that will start in the autumn of 2025. So we have a list. Louise, would you like to talk about or discuss the first question?
Start
please?
us off, So the first mistake we formalized is actually misunderstanding or missing the specific program-specific entry requirements. So as you hopefully know by this point, there is this concept of general eligibility for studies in Sweden. But then, of course, you must also always look at the program which you are applying for, more specifically to see what is required in order to be eligible.
Exactly, and this is where Sweden perhaps might be, I wouldn't say unusual, but it might be different from the country where you studied previously and the entry requirements that may exist there for programs if you apply locally, for instance. I would say, generally speaking, that at the master's level in Swedish universities, the program have fixed entry requirements, and these must be met in full in order for us to consider you for admission. So if you find a program at Lund University that you're interested in, you read about it and you think, oh, this program really suits me. I like it. I like the content. I like what they're telling me about the program. But you must pay attention to and examine the entry requirements that program may have, because if they say that you need a certain background, a certain amount of credits in one subject or even several subjects, then we must be able to see when we look at your transcript and evaluate your application that you do indeed have all of the courses and all of the credits visible there. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for us to offer you admission. I don't know, Louise, would you like to just kind of give an example of a program or programs and how the entry requirements might be described?
Absolutely. So for instance, we have the School of Economics here at Lund University, which is a very popular faculty, and we have some really popular programs within that faculty. I think a common theme, not all programs are open to this group of applicants, but some programs, I would probably say the majority, do actually require some previous experience in business administration, for instance. Now, I should specify that we're talking about master's programs. Obviously, it is different when you apply to bachelor's programs. But so the general idea when you apply for master's programs is that you do have background within that relevant field. Essentially, master studies is deepening your academic sort of specification within one subject area. So I would say that's pretty common, but most master's programs do actually specify that you must have an academic background from the realm of subjects in which that program is situated in.
Yeah, exactly. And it has to be relevant for the program that you're applying to. Because if you look at the master's level, again, master's level, we're talking about master's level here, the program entry requirements, the program specific entry requirements, they vary, of course, from program to program. Sometimes they are quite open. A few of our programs are open basically to any type of academic background, student with any type of academic background. There are those kind of in the middle that require a certain amount of credits in one subject or another in order for students to be, or applicants to be eligible. And then there are those that require a full major. At least 90 ECTS credits in a subject in order for a student to be considered eligible. And on top of that, they may also have additional requirements that not only do you need a major in this subject, you also need to have completed courses in this, that, and the other.
And that can become quite specific.
Can become very, very specific. And this, again, as I said previously, it must be clear from your transcripts in particular that you have indeed finished a course in subject or this course, that course, etc. And if it's not visible on your transcript, or if it's not clear from your transcript, then our programs may actually decide to make you ineligible for their program, because they say, oh, this is a terrific student, they have very high GPA, and they have a very good home university, etc., but they do not have enough credits in this or that subject. So please make sure that you do indeed fulfill the entry requirements before you decide to make an application to a program. But of course, I mean, it's not so clear-cut always.
No.
There's like, am I not eligible? I'm
And
not
some
quite sure.
programs write all the equivalent. So they will specify ideally what academic background you have, but they do also understand that subjects may be specified differently in different countries. You may have studied the relevant subject, but it will be called something else at your home university or home country. We should also specify that when we say credits, we mean ECTS.
Yes.
So obviously in different countries, we can see here that you're joining us from around the world. You will have your own local credit system. So something we always urge applicants to do is self-assess. And essentially, if you have a program that you're really interested in and you can see that there is a strict requirement, take some time to look into your transcript, your background, and transfer these local credits to ECTS to see if you have enough, essentially, to be admitted to the program.
Right. And also, you mentioned it, Louise, that sometimes students, they have taken a course, but the name of the course can be maybe not the same as the course name here, or it may be slightly obscure or misleading, the course name. And if that's the case, it's good if you can provide a syllabus or some type of course description so that we know that, oh, they took this course, but it included actually,
Exactly.
I don't know, you can take any example, say statistics. Oh, it was included in this course, but the course name itself is not statistics.
Exactly. And we do actually have one point which we will come to about program-specific documents, but here we should also maybe mention that some programs require you to submit a summary sheet where you will be asked to specify what courses you have studied and then the equivalent in credits.
Sure. So I think, I mean, that's the first, we've been talking for a long time just about this.
And to just basically run up, we should also mention that you will find the entry requirements on the program web page. So if you go onto our website, you will very easily find the program-specific web page, and they're very, very clearly written under entry requirements. You will find exactly what you need to know in order to determine whether or not you are eligible.
Yeah, and also I think we might add here that a lot of applicants, they want to know before they make an application, am I eligible?
Yeah.
I'm going to reach out to the university, to us, to the program, and have them evaluate my background before I make an application. We receive a lot of emails every day about this, and it is simply not possible for us to make a formal assessment of your background before you make a complete application. And when you do, that formal assessment will actually be done by the programs or programs that you have applied to.
So whether or not you receive admission will be essentially them determining whether or not you're eligible.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the next point we have on our common mistakes which we want you to avoid is actually documents not being provided in the way described by university admissions. So in Sweden we have this national application portal called University Admissions. Hopefully all of you here know about it. Maybe you've even been on the website. It's a really great website. It has both the method in which to apply, but also to find more information about dates and deadlines, how to upload your documents, what is required for people joining us from different countries around the world. I think that's the main, I mean, the most important points to mention here. And the documents are very important because, if I can explain, when you make an application to a Swedish university, not just Lund, but to any Swedish university, it's basically a two-step process. You make your application via and through university admissions in Sweden, and they have admissions officers who will who will review your application and your supporting documents to make sure that A, you fulfill the general entry requirements that are in place for university studies in Sweden, and also B, make sure that you have provided the correct documents in the correct way. And once they have approved this, your application will be sort of forwarded to the universities that you have applied to, or the university or universities that you have applied to, but not before they have approved you and approved the documents that you have provided. And with that, we should mention that the application fee will also actually be paid to university admissions, not the university. So even if you only apply to Lund University, you still pay that application fee to university admissions in order for them to process your application, as Johan mentioned.
Yeah. So, yes, documents.
Yeah.
What do you need to submit? You do need to submit, of course, a complete record of your bachelor's degree if you're applying for master's level studies, or a complete record of your upper secondary school studies if you're applying to bachelor's level. And of course, these documents must be officially issued by your home school or university.
Yes.
And officially issued usually means that the documents, the official documents, your transcripts, graduation, degree certificate, etc., diploma, what have you, they must be stamped and signed normally by the home school or university in order to be considered official. Yeah,
and here it's really important to talk a little bit about country-specific requirements. So obviously all of you will be joining us from different countries with the different educational systems. Your universities would look different, your everything will be different basically. So on university admissions, it's very easy for you to find out exactly what is required for your specific country, the country in which you have studied, I should clarify. So it doesn't necessarily be the country that you are from, essentially it's where you've studied.
Yeah.
So for instance, to use Indonesia as an example, we have a lot of applicants from Indonesia. There will be very specifically stated the sarjana you need, the credits you need, what is required with regards to transcripts, degree, diploma, who needs to have signed them. We also have some countries where you are required to have the university send in this documentation and not you. So really spend some time on university admissions, taking exactly what is applicable for you based on where you have studied previously.
Yeah, and this is the applicant's own responsibility to make sure that you have indeed or can provide the documents that are required by university admissions in Sweden in order to get approved by them, and then have your application forwarded to the universities that you have applied to. There are also some notes on the country-specific information pages about translation requirements, because this is also different from country to country. Usually, if your original official documents were not issued in English by the home university or school that you went to, then you must provide translated documents. And these can be provided. You can ask your home university or school if they can issue these documents in both the native language of your country and in English. But if they are not able to do so, then you will have to take those documents, the original in your original home native language, and have them translated by a professional translator or a company that does translations. And again, this different from country to country. So you need to find out, I'm from Italy, I'm from Brazil, I'm from China.
Exactly.
What do I need to do if I studied in this country? Well, they will tell you the documents you need to provide and what format, what languages, etc.
And the information is super clear. The university admissions team have done a great job. Everything is very, very clearly written. And speaking on language, you can then also find out what is required with regards to meeting the English language requirement, which of course is imposed across all studies here in Sweden. You can find out whether or not studies in this country then actually means that you meet the English requirement, or if you're required to meet it in other ways, for instance, doing a language test such as IELTS or TOEFL.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's University Admissions Sweden website, we are used to using it. If you're using it for the first time, perhaps you cannot find all the information that you need immediately, but do please take some time to have a look in the menus and the sub-menus, because they have a lot of information. And if there's anything you miss there from their information pages, then there is a risk that your application will not be considered complete or correctly submitted. And then they will say, we cannot accept your application in its current state.
Exactly. And now is the time to spend time on the university admissions website. Please don't wait until the deadline is fast approaching and you're stressed, and then perhaps you get a nasty surprise 2 days before the deadline and you're not able to remedy it. Please, if this is something you're seriously considering, and if you are very serious about this really great opportunity of studying at Lund University, we really hope that you join us. Take time now. Spend a few hours on the university admissions website. It will repay you tenfold. Yeah,
exactly. And that is something that we all have to consider as well, all applicants, that and this may come as news to some who haven't applied to a Swedish university or through University Admissions Sweden before, that and it's kind of a quirk, isn't it? Or it's a bit quirky, I should say, because if you apply, you make your application to Lund University via University Admissions Sweden, which you should. You provide your supporting documents. You pay the application fee if you have to pay the application fee. They process your application and they approve it. You will not be notified about that, which is kind of, maybe they should, send them a message saying everything is okay so far now. Your application has been sent to the university or university that you've applied to. No, no news is good news, basically.
No news is good news.
If you don't hear from them, that means that most likely they will have approved your application and forwarded it to the university or universities that you have applied to. But if they find issues, if they find problems with your supporting documents, and for some reason or other they cannot approve it at this point in time, they will provide feedback to you. They will write a note saying, thank you for your application. There is something wrong with document X. Please provide it in another way. And they will tell you what you need to do to remedy the situation and to correct your mistake.
Which brings us back again to our main message, and I apologize for repeating myself, but I will say this many times. If you apply now, if you apply early, and if there are any irregularities or mistakes in your application, obviously receiving feedback on that, you want to receive that now, as opposed to after the deadline has passed, where you're not able to change anything, so your application remains incorrect or incomplete. So by applying now, submitting the documentation now, paying the application fee now, that's a really good chance of you just increasing your chances of having a complete and correct application.
Absolutely. So
Shall we move on to the next
we
mistake?
should move on. Yeah.
So number 3 in our list of common mistakes which we want you to avoid is issues with program-specific documentation. So maybe we should start by specifying what is program-specific documentation.
Right, and this is something that you have to pay attention to. To learn about the program-specific documents through the program or programs that you're applying to, you will need to visit our website, lunduniversity.lu.se, because this information is not mentioned or found on University of Administration Sweden website. So you will need to refer to both websites at some point. And you have found a program, you're interested in this program, you want to apply to the program, you add the program to your application, you submit your application. The next step, of course, is to provide supporting documents. And we talked about your transcripts, or diploma, graduation, degree certificate, proof of English, for example.
Yeah.
Those are the typical documents that you have to provide. But the program-specific documents are just for the program or programs that you have added to your application. And they are unique for each and every program that you have added.
Exactly. And the program will specify exactly what they require. And it will look different based on what program or faculty you are interested in. I would say the common program-specific documents are statement of purpose, CV, summary sheet. Sometimes the summary sheet includes a statement of purpose. Sometimes you'll have recommendation letters, reference letters. I know some programs want to see a little video clip of you. Basically, everything will look different depending on what program you are applying for. But the good news is that the program is super specific about exactly what they require. And again, this takes us back to the program webpage. They have a very clear section called program-specific documentation.
Right.
And there it is clearly listed. And we should also mention that with regards to statement of purpose, some programs, they only specify maybe a word count and a general direction for a statement of purpose, whereas some programs, they have a template that they want you to fill in exactly very specific questions. So sometimes I get questions basically saying, well, how do I write my statement of purpose? And that just takes us back to the program. What do they specify? And always go by that. So essentially, we've eliminated all guesswork here. You just go onto the program webpage and you see exactly what they require and you follow the guidelines there.
Exactly. And also, please remember that if you have added more than one program to your application, which is, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
You can apply to multiple programs, but then you would have to provide program-specific document for each program that you're applying to. So we don't want you to provide one kind of general or generic statement of purpose, or kind of a personal letter where you write about you want to come to Sweden and you want to join Lund University, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. You have to provide the documents as they are required or requested by the programs you're applying to. So program A, They have one set of program-specific documents, program B. Now, we do fully understand if your statement of purpose or your personal letter is quite similar, even if you've had, even if you've added several programs to your application. But you must make sure to tailor them
exactly
to the program or programs that you're applying to, so that the programs, when they assess and evaluate your application, they will feel, this applicant seems very sincere about their wish to join our program, and they have a clear motivation and clear understanding of the program and the outcome, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And a top tip from us is when you then upload all of these documents to your university admissions profile, we recommend that you name the documents in accordance to the program to which they relate. So for instance, if you're applying to 3 programs and all of them require a statement of purpose, our recommendation is that you then write out the program name, statement of purpose, maybe also your name. And to go back to what Johan was saying, a lot of the times when the program wants a statement of purpose is because they want to know why you want to study this program and what you want to do with education as you go forward in life. So obviously it cannot be generic, because then you're not really answering their questions.
Exactly. So I have your Louise, you mentioned several times, I think, that you upload the documents to University of Michigan Sweden, which is 99% of the time is correct. There are a couple of programs here at Lund University who will give you additional instructions for the program-specific documents, namely architecture, industrial design, sustainable urban design, and digital architecture as well, because there you actually have a portfolio requirement and you have to provide the portfolio directly to the program. But those programs aside, the program-specific documents should normally be uploaded to your account.
Yeah, there is also, I've seen some programs that require the letter recommendation to be sent straight from the person giving the recommendation to a program-specific email inbox. So they essentially don't want you to upload the letter recommendation, they want to receive it directly. But again, everything is very, very clear on the program webpage, so all of the guidelines will be there, and essentially all you have to do is just follow them and start early, so that if there are any mistakes or perhaps you need to go back and revisit the information, you have that time on your side.
Right. And I have a question for you, Louise.
Yeah.
If I have a document, a statement of purpose, for example, I write my statement of purpose, I'm very happy with it, I upload it to my University of Michigan Sweden account. Now, 1 week later, I feel that, I wish I had written about this or about that instead. I go into my University of Michigan Sweden account, trying to edit or even delete my document. Can I do that? What happens if I do that?
No. So according to Swedish law, you can actually, so the university admissions, this is all part of Swedish public law, you actually cannot delete documents. And so this goes also if you've applied to a program and you just thought that maybe they wanted a letter of recommendation, or maybe they wanted something else. So you thought, well, I'll just go ahead and submit it. And then you go back and you see, well, actually, they don't require that. They won't consider that. You cannot delete documentation. It's not the end of the world. Essentially, all it means is that the documents not relevant there just won't be considered. But in this example, if you desperately want to rewrite your statement of purpose, obviously we recommend not uploading it to university admissions until you are really happy with it, and maybe you've had a few friends read through it and they are also happy with it. But then essentially, I suppose you could just say new or something, like you could upload it and just bring to attention that this is the new version.
And I think when we look at the applications in the application system, they are sorted by date typically. And I believe our programs who will do this evaluation of your merits, they will also, look at the newest documents first and then go back in time if necessary. But you did also mention, Louise, that sometimes students sort of assume that they have to provide certain documents that we are not actually asking for. And that happens all the time. Again, no biggie, no problem. But what do we do with these documents? Are they assessed? Are they included in the assessment, or what?
No. So essentially, you're just making it more difficult for yourself. It is applying for university. I understand that we understand that it is a big process. It's a big life decision. But essentially, the process is pretty straightforward and clear. So by submitting more documentation than what is required, you're just making life more difficult for you. It won't be considered. It won't be part of your application. So if you have already, if you're sitting here now listening to this and you know that you've submitted documentation that isn't part of the application, it's not the end of the world. It won't negatively impact your application. It's just that it won't be considered. So please always go back to general eligibility requirements, the documentations on the university admissions website, and then program-specific documentation on the program webpage.
Exactly. I think that's the main points concerning the program-specific documents. Again, please make sure that you provide all the program-specific documents as requested by the program or programs that you're applying to in the way that they instruct you to do so. Use a template if they have a template. Fill out the summary sheet if they have a summary sheet.
Yeah.
If they're sometimes, certain programs will just say, please write a statement of purpose about your reasons for applying to this program, maximum 500 words. And in those situations, you are free to create your own document in, for example, Microsoft Word, and write a statement of purpose for the program in blah, blah, blah.
And then upload it as a PDF.
Yeah, and upload it as a PDF, basically.
And we will talk, so we've talked a lot about document submission. We will go back to deadlines for document submission at the end of this to just make sure you have all the dates that you need. So let's go on to our fourth common mistake that you want to avoid. So essentially, we're going to talk about ranking. So one common mistake we see is applicants either not really understanding the ranking system in Sweden that is applied and admission results, or perhaps not being happy with their ranking.
No, exactly. And I think the problem here, or the issue, is the fact that when you make your application on the University of Admission Sweden website, you're almost encouraged to add more programs to your application. Then maybe you have found one program, but you can add more. It's easy. It doesn't cost anything extra or anything like that. So people think, oh, I might as well add 3 or 4 programs to my application. And the University of Admission Sweden website will actually encourage you to rank your choices in order of preference. But I think this kind of instructions could be a bit more clear, to be honest, because sometimes, or not even sometimes, often, many applicants believe that if they have added several programs to their application, they may actually receive multiple offers as well.
Because of course that's the way it is in some countries. Like you see on social media these clips of people applying to American universities, and they get the admission results for each and every university, and then they just transfer that thought onto Sweden thinking that it's the same, and it's not.
No, it's not. So what happens actually in the end, you will be forced to rank your program choices 1 to 4 if you have applied to 4 master's programs. But here it's very important to understand that program number 1, it has to be the one program at the university you really want to get into the most.
Essentially, the reason why you're making an application in the first and paying the application fee.
Yeah, so that is the program. Program number 1, it's the program at the university I want to get into the most. Programs number 2, 3, and 4, if you have decided to add that many programs to your application, they are to be seen more as backup choices, backup options, in case program number 1 will not offer you admission.
Exactly. Which also then takes us back to our first point about understanding program-specific entry requirements. If there's a program that you're really, really interested in, but you are unsure whether or not you are actually eligible, or maybe it's a very competitive program, so you know you might not be confident in being offered admission, that's a great opportunity for you to look around our website and see if there are any programs that you would also be interested in having as a backup, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, Lund University, we are a broad, comprehensive university, and our program portfolio is very both wide and deep, I would say. So it is absolutely not unusual that applicants find more than one program that they'd like to apply to and can consider taking if they're offered admission. But you still have to make a choice at some point that this is my favorite program, this is the one I really want to get into, and programs number 2, 3, and 4 would be, again, more backup options. I should point out that in the Swedish national application system, it is both possible to apply to several programs in one university, like Lund University, or even one program or two programs at this university and one program at that university, and even more. You can apply to 4 different universities. And that seems great when you make your application, especially if you believe that you will get 4 offers.
Yeah.
But as we said, you cannot ever get 4 offers. You will get 1 offer. And the first choice, they're, so to speak, first in line to offer you admission. If your first program choice, if they think either you don't fulfill the requirements, so they cannot offer you admission, or it's very competitive, like Louise said, they will maybe place you on the list of reserves. If that happens, then program number 2, they have a chance to offer you admission, so to speak. But they will all assess or evaluate your application regardless.
So we do recommend, so those of you who maybe have already made an application and maybe you've only added 1 program to your application, we do recommend having a second option or maybe even a third option. The application fee doesn't change and you have time to move this around. And we should also mention that our website does have programs categorized under subject area. So if you have applied to a program and you find that subject really fascinating, we really recommend that you go on to our website and see subject areas, and you can see our full catalog of offerings within that subject area. And then you can look around and browse and see if there are any other programs that you would like to add to your application. But speaking about ranking, we should also talk maybe a little bit about scholarship opportunities connected to ranking, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is also something that people want to take into consideration when they rank their program choices, of course, because Lund University, we have a local scholarship program called Lund University Global Scholarship Program that is open to students who are fee liable. Fee liable students are able to apply to this particular scholarship program. We do, however, only award scholarships to students who have Lund University program as their number 1 choice.
Yes.
So if you would prefer to go to a different university, it's up to you, of course, to make that decision. But then Lund University Global Scholarship cannot be offered.
Exactly. It's just something to consider that we wanted to mention, essentially. Yeah. So ranking is super, super, super important, and you still have time to think and really consider your options. But then, of course, please make sure that your final ranking is the ranking that you are happy with, because it will determine everything.
Yeah, exactly. Louise, you said you still have time. Yeah. How much time do you have exactly until the deadline for you to rank your program choices or add or remove programs for your application?
Yeah, well, it's a month, isn't it? Yeah. So applications close on the 15th of January. So that's a little bit over a month, but that time will go very, very quickly. And that is also the deadline to rank your program. So on the 15th of January, the ranking that you have in university admissions stands. So really think this through now. And then we have another deadline on the 3rd of February. And I suppose this is here where it can get a little bit confusing, considering that there are 2 deadlines, but it is quite simple when you think about it. So 15th of January is the deadline to apply, deadline to rank your programs, and then the 3rd of February deadline is to pay the application fee and submit those all-important documents, both pertaining to your academic background, the general eligibility that we discussed, but also the programs that you have in your application.
Yeah, so let's just play a little game here. What happens after the 15th of January if I regret my choice
Yeah.
of programs? If I think, ooh, I wish I had applied to this program and not that
Yeah.
program, or I wish I had placed the Lund University program
Yeah.
as number one
Yeah.
and the other university program as number two, but now I can't do anything. What can you do? I mean, it's too late, isn't it?
It is too late, and here I think we should discuss the sort of the culture of Sweden as a country and how we organize things. And in Sweden, a deadline is a deadline, and that deadline stands. Unfortunately, there is no movement. We, of course, can't speak for every country around the world, but we do know that Sweden is quite unique. It's part of Northern European culture with very strict organizational guidelines. So in Sweden, a deadline is a deadline. So as I said, the ranking that you have inserted into university admissions on the 15th of January stands, and that will play out through the whole admission cycle. And if you're really unhappy with it, which we of course hope that you aren't, but if that's the case, you will then have to wait until the next admission cycle.
Yeah, exactly. So after January 15, you might say that your application or your program choices that you made and submitted,
Yeah.
it's locked. You
Yeah.
know, you cannot change it. You cannot
Exactly.
add programs. You cannot rearrange the way
Yeah.
you have ranked your program choices if you have applied to multiple programs. But then after January 15, there is still, as you've mentioned, there is a second deadline, February the
Yeah.
3rd,
Yeah.
which is a different deadline, of course. And a lot of people, they make their applications and then they want to submit their supporting documents, and
Yeah.
they have until February the 3rd to
Yeah.
do so. Sometimes I think this is kind of human nature.
Yeah.
We like to wait until the very last
Yes.
moment to do certain
Yeah.
things, right? And
Yeah.
what we see is that there is a spike in applicant activity
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
January 15 and
Huge
also on
spike.
February the 3rd.
Yeah.
But there is a danger or a hazard here, isn't there? Because what happens, for example, you delay everything and you wait until February the 3rd to submit your supporting documents and pay the application fee. And I
Yeah.
mean, you are technically allowed to do so
Yeah.
if you so choose. But what happens if there is a technical problem? Maybe
Exactly.
you don't have internet
Yeah.
on February the 3rd, or
Yeah.
something happens unforeseen,
Yeah.
obviously, that you cannot control.
Your
And-
car breaks down on the way home from work and you can't get your computer.
Exactly. I mean, anything might happen,
Yeah.
right? And if something like that happens, and you are not able to provide those vital all the documents, in
Yeah.
fact, on or before February the 3rd, that is catastrophe is a strong word,
Yeah,
but for
you'll
your
find a
application,
closed door.
for your application, it is a catastrophe, because regardless of the reason for this mishap, on February the 4th, 5, 6, etc., if you say, oh, there was a technical problem in my house, I didn't have Wi-Fi, but I'm submitting my document now.
Yeah.
It's just a couple of days after the deadline.
Yeah.
Surely that's okay,
Yeah.
isn't it? No,
Yeah, no.
Unfortunately, no.
And I think we should really go back and talk about what a major life choice it is to spend a part of your life studying in another country. This is too big of a life choice for you to wait until the very last moments until the door closes, and there is nothing that we might think that you're the most brilliant applicant, that we would love to have you join us at our university, but there's nothing that we can do. So please, for your own sake, to really respect the seriousness of this life choice that you are making, please apply early, and also pay the application fee early, because if you pay the application fee now, I think we mentioned this already, but it's worth repeating, that increases your chance of receiving that really important feedback in time before the deadline, so that you have an opportunity to address it.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it happens every year. We hear from students who are paying on the last day, and they find that the credit card they're using, or the debit card, the bank card anyway, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The payment cannot be processed for whatever reason. It could be a local issue, computer issue, bank issue, doesn't matter. If you cannot pay successfully by that date, then I'm afraid, and you're fee liable, obviously, then your application will not be considered.
Yeah.
And you cannot get an offer.
And we should also mention that we obviously work with recruitment, so we're really happy to take any questions or concerns or issues you may have. And we stand a bigger chance of being able to help you in time if you reach out to us now, as opposed to when everyone reaches out to us in the final days of the application round, essentially. Yeah.
I think those are kind of let's just go through them again very quickly, because we've talked a bit about everything here, but just recap some of the most common application mistakes that we have seen that applicants tend to make when they're applying to Swedish University. Number one, as we said, that students apply to programs and they haven't checked the entry requirements, or they do not meet the entry requirements, and they apply anyway. That is a mistake, because you must make sure that you meet the entry requirements of the program or programs that you're applying to before you make an application, and you must be able to prove that you meet them as well. So this must be clear from your official supporting documents that, okay, this person, they have all the courses, all the credits necessary in order to compete for a place in this program. Then we can consider you for admission. If you do not, if you don't have those credits, those courses, we cannot offer you admission, even if you're a terrific student with a super high GPA from a prestigious elite university in your country. So you must meet the entry requirements.
And just to recap, on master's level, the majority of programs do require that you have some form of academic background within that subject. We do at Lund University have some interdisciplinary programs that is open to applicants from different backgrounds, but in general, the idea is that you deepen your knowledge within one subject on a master's level. Absolutely.
So, entry requirements. Number two, documents. The documents you provide to university admissions, or in some cases to Lund University, must be provided in the exact way described by university admissions or Lund University in order for us to consider you for admission. If documents are incomplete or not provided in the way required by university admission in Sweden, they will not accept them. You will get feedback on this if you apply early.
And pay the application fee.
Yeah, pay the application fee, and then you may have a chance to correct those mistakes. But it's better not to make a mistake in the first place. So just read the instructions and follow them, and you should be fine.
Yeah, and if there's something, if you've read the instructions like 3 times and you still don't really understand, or maybe your case is quite specific, then reach out to us. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to sort of point you in the right direction there.
Right. So documents to University of Admission in Sweden. Then number 3, we have the program-specific documents that we told you before. They are unique for each and every program that you have added to your application. So make sure to provide a complete set of program-specific documents for each program you're applying to, if they require this. There are actually a handful of programs that they say you do not need to provide any program-specific documents. And if that's the case for the program that you have selected, then you don't need to provide any extra documents. But
then that will be clearly stated.
It will be clearly stated on the program webpage, on our website. I should be clear about this, because again, information about the program-specific documents is not something you can't read about it on the University of Admission Sweden website. You have to go to lunduniversity.lu.se and the program pages, find your program, and check program-specific documents section to learn what you need to submit.
So basically, with regards to documentation, what we're saying is no more, no less, and no guesswork.
Yeah, don't assume anything.
No.
You have to read and follow the instructions.
And the instructions are pretty straightforward and clear. So hopefully all of you watching this will be able to navigate this without any issues.
Yeah, exactly. And also we'd like to point out that the program-specific document, they really make a difference for your application, because most of the time when we assess you for the master's level programs, they will look at your academic background, of course, and that's usually the most important thing. But they will also consider the program-specific documents and what you have provided us with there to see how suitable or not suitable,
Exactly.
as the case may be, is this person for our particular program? Do we feel that they have made a convincing argument for us to consider them for admission?
And that also, of course, goes into the fact that we are very happy and proud of the fact that we're a very competitive university, and a lot of our programs are very competitive and difficult to get into. So there could be a whole group of applicants that are eligible for the program, but too many, so the program has to pick. And that's really where the program-specific documents come in, because then they get to see really why you are applying to that program. Maybe they want a plethora of applicants from different sort of subjects to make out a cohesive group or batch. So really pay a lot of attention to this.
Right. Then number 4, we had
ranking.
How to rank or how to think about the ranking system of your program choices that you've made at the University of Michigan Sweden website. Because it happens very often, it's of course completely normal to add more than one program to an application, because sometimes it's because you like several programs, and sometimes it's because you want to, hedge your bets and make sure that you have a chance to get into more than one program. But in the end, you can only get one offer if you're applying to Swedish university. If you're applying to 4 Lund University programs or one program at 4 different universities in Sweden, it doesn't matter. You still have to rank your program choices. And as Louise mentioned previously as well, this is also may determine the likelihood of you getting a scholarship at Lund University. If you do not have a Lund University program as your first choice, then we may not be able to offer you a scholarship. Yeah.
Good. And then the 5th and final common mistake that we want to see avoid is the deadlines, and essentially you not understanding the deadlines, or maybe not taking them seriously, thinking there is some levy room there. There really isn't. We cannot be clear enough about that. There is no movement on the deadlines, and that's ultimately to safeguard equal treatment and assessment of all applicants. We don't want to see anyone sort of overtaking the queue. So the deadlines are final, and just to recap on them, 15th of January is your deadline to make an application and rank your programs, and the 3rd of February is your deadline to pay the application fee and submit your documentation. And if you're worried about missing the deadline, so you perhaps feel like it's a little bit unclear that there are 2 deadlines, apply now. Just do everything now, pay the application fee now, and then you don't have to worry about the deadlines. That's the best solution.
Exactly. I think that's very good advice, personally. I'm sorry for not looking into the camera here.
We received a lot of questions.
We've received a lot of questions, and our colleague in the background, Rebecca, she's done a terrific job answering most of them, but they are coming in thick and fast. And she can't possibly answer all of them, can she? And it's difficult for us to scroll up as well, because there are hundreds, literally, of questions.
Hopefully our messages during this session has been clear, and hopefully the questions that we can see are perhaps with regards to other details about studying at Lund University.
Right.
I don't know if you can see any.
Well, we have, I can just see the last question there.
We have a few minutes left.
We have a few minutes left. There are a couple of questions about the documents that you need to provide. Your official documents, your home university documents, or the upper secondary school where you completed your studies if you're applying to bachelor's level. In most cases, for most students in most countries, you can take the original documents, scan them in color, to PDF, and upload those documents to your University Admission Sweden account. However, as Louise mentioned previously, there are kind of a handful of countries around the world where you need to ask your home university or upper secondary school to take your official documents, put them in an envelope, and actually send them to University Admission Sweden via by a post. In some countries they can choose, right? There is some type of electronic
and
system.
if this is the case for you, it will be very, very clear on university admissions. If you just go on to country-specific guidelines, it will be very clearly stated if you indeed belong to one of these countries, you've studied in one of the countries, that is required to have the university send in this documentation on your behalf instead. Maybe we should just talk very briefly about what applies if you are in the final year of your bachelor studies, or if you've recently completed your bachelor studies but you haven't yet received all of the documentation that is required. So there is a specific form. So if you're in the final year of studies, there is a specific form from university admissions that you are required to upload. And
if your home university does not have its own.
Exactly. I was just about to mention that is, of course, as a substitute if you cannot get this documentation or these information points from your home university. And we should also mention that if this applies, so this is very specific. If this applies to you, you can then also submit documentation beyond the deadlines, or rather, I should say, you are required to submit documentation even though the deadline may have passed in order to confirm your admission status.
Yeah, exactly. So the first document we talked about, I think it's called, what's it called? Status of enrollment or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
So basically that document that has to be stamped, signed by someone at your home university who is authorized to do so. It will basically confirm that you are currently a final year student and you are expected to graduate before you join us here if you are offered admission.
Yeah.
And the other documents like your final transcript, you can be admitted even if you haven't finished your studies yet and received your diploma. But once that happens, maybe sometime next year, you will need to take those complete documents, your final transcript, and also your graduation degree certificate and or diploma, depending on what you get in your country, and provide them to University Admission in Sweden so that they can register the fact that you have now indeed graduated before you start your master's program here at Lund University.
Exactly. But that is this is all very niche, of course, if this applies to you. If it doesn't, then just refer back to the guidelines we've provided already.
Yeah, I have here from Seke asking about, because there is just one application account that you have as a student, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually add more than one university, the programs of more than one university to your... So what about the supporting document? How will we know, or they know, that a certain supporting document is for that program, that university, or this program, this university, because they're all in the same application account.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is your recommendation here, Louise?
Well, I think I mentioned this before, but we do recommend that you name, so you will be uploading everything as PDF files. We do recommend that you name them in accordance to the program to which they relate, and also perhaps your name is a good idea to include. So they will be able to see exactly what documentation pertains to what program you have applied for.
Yeah, so it is absolutely possible to add more than one university to your application, but just name your documents in a way so that is clear. There is you won't be penalized or anything like that. I know sometimes students wonder, well, I've applied to both Lund and to that university, and can they see that? And we can actually see everything.
We can see everything.
But of course, our program staff will ignore documents that are not meant for them.
Exactly.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. But as we offer more than 130 programs on master's level in English, we're a top 75 university, number 3 in sustainability, there really isn't any reason to apply to any other university than university. And with those words, we should end.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Good. Yes, it is almost 5 p.m. actually, and we said this was going to last for an hour.
Yeah.
So I hope, or we hope rather, that you have learned some useful things today. Maybe some of it was, oh, that's complete news to me, or some of the stuff we mentioned, it's like, oh, we knew that already. But regardless, we do hope that some of the points that we made here today and tried to emphasize, please do your homework, do not miss the information on the University of Admission Sweden website, the general information, but also the information that is specific for your country, the country where you studied previously or where you are currently studying, follow the information, follow the instructions carefully. Otherwise, there's a risk that university admissions in Sweden will not approve you for further evaluation.
So with those words, we wish you the very best of luck. We will really keep our fingers crossed for you, and we ultimately hope to see you in Lund next autumn.
Absolutely. August 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you then.
Good luck.
Bye.